Adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Let's go over quickly what a mixed number is. A mixed number is going to be a combination of a whole number and a fraction. So whenever you have a mixed number, that means you're going to have your whole number here, and attached to it is going to be a fraction. One thing that's important to note with mixed numbers is that this right here can also be written as 3 plus 1/3. This concept right here, rewriting a mixed number into an addition of a whole number and a fraction, is really going to help us out in our problems. Example number 1, we have 2 1/3 plus 5 3/8. Whenever we're adding mixed numbers, or basically whenever we're going to be adding fractions together, what we need is for these fractions to have the same exact denominator. The way we do that is by finding the LCD between those numbers. So the way we find the LCD, I'll show it for the first example, but the other examples I will skip it. So the LCD between these is basically just going over all of the multiples of these numbers, and whenever they have the same multiple, we're going to stop. So let's look at the 3. So we have 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and 24. And for the 8, we have 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, and 8 times 3 is 24. So you can see here that 24 is on both columns. That means our LCD is going to be equal to 24. So what we're going to do is make each one of these fractions have a denominator of 24. Let's start with 1/3. And we want to make that have a denominator of 24. So we need to figure out 3 times what number is going to give us 24. And you can either divide it, do it in your head, or what we can do is go ahead and look at that LCD column that we made and count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 multiples. So that means I have to multiply 3 by 8 to get to 24. And whatever you do to the bottom, you always have to do to the top as well. So we're going to have in the numerator 1 times 8. So 1/3 can be written as 8 over 24. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing to the 3/8. So 3 over 8, and we want the denominator to be 24. So that means I have to multiply 8 by 3 to get to 24. And what you do to the denominator, you have to do the numerator as well. So 3 times 3 is going to give us 9. So those are our two fractions converted to have the same denominator. Now what we can do is go ahead and add our mixed numbers together. So 2 1/3 can be written as 2 and 8 over 24. And we want to add that by 5 and 3/8 we know is 9 over 24. Like that. And now I just want to reiterate that overview that I gave you a little bit before, where these fractions or these mixed numbers, we can write them as 2 plus 8 over 24 plus 5 plus 9 over 24. Basically, we can split up the whole number and the fraction together. Now let's go ahead and add. When we're adding these, we're going to add the fractions together, then we're going to add the whole numbers together. So looking at the fractions first, we have 8 over 24 plus 9 over 24. The denominator is the same, so all we got to do is add the numerators together. 9 plus 8 is going to give us 17, and you keep the same exact denominator. So 17 over 24. Plus, now we look at the whole numbers. 2 plus 5 gives us 7. So now our final answer is going to be 7 and 17 over 24. Just like that. This example is complete. Example number 2, we have 3 4/5 plus 1 and 4/15. First thing we want to do is get our fractions to have the same denominator by finding the LCD. And we know that the LCD between these is going to be equal to 15. You can do the same thing with the multiples that I showed in example number 1. However, just to save some time, we're going to go ahead and list the LCD here like that. So now let's look at the first fraction, 4 over 5. And what we want is that LCD to be 15. For 5 to become a 15, we have to multiply by 3. And what we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator as well. So we have to multiply the numerator by 3. 4 times 3 is going to give us 12. So 4 over 5 is the same thing as 12 over 15. So that means we're going to have 3 and 12/15 plus, and if we're looking at our second mixed number, the denominator is already 15, so we don't have to change anything here. So we're going to have 1 and 4 over 15. And now we can just rewrite this to 3 plus 12 over 15 plus 1 plus 4 over 15. Now what we do is we add the fractions together and then we add the whole numbers together. So looking at the fractions, 12 over 15 plus 4 over 15 is going to be 16 over 15. And then when we add the whole numbers together, 3 plus 1 is going to be 4. Now when we're looking at this, looking at our fraction here, this is still an improper fraction. So let's go ahead and simplify this a little bit. I'm going to show you that on the right side, or the left corner. So 16 over 15 can be written as 1 and 1 over 15. And the way we do that is basically by dividing. So I'll show you how to do that right here. What we do is we divide 16 by 15. 15 goes into 16 one time, and when you subtract here, you'll have 1 as the remainder. So that number is going to be the numerator, and the denominator is going to be this 15 here. So that's how you write a improper fraction as a mixed number. So now we know that 16 over 15 over here is the same thing as 1 and 1/15. So that means our answer is going to be 4 plus 1 plus 1 over 15. And it's the same concept here. We add the whole numbers together and then we'll add the fractions together. So that's going to be 5 and 1 over 15. And this right here is going to be our final answer. Example number 3, we have 2 and 4 6 minus 3 and 3 6. Now we're going to be subtracting mixed numbers here, and the reason why I picked this example is to show one concept. So our fractions are the same. Let's go ahead and write down our problem. We have 2 and 4 over 6 minus 3 and 3 over 6. Now you may be thinking we can go ahead and just subtract from here. So let's go ahead and do that. 4 6 minus 3 6 is going to give us 1 6. And 2 minus 3 is going to give us negative 1. Now, if you do this answer here is actually incorrect. And let me show you why. This is basically the main reason why we go ahead and write it in the form that I was showing you, where we go ahead and put 2 plus 4 over 6 minus 3 over 6. Let's do the subtraction again here. 4 6 minus 3 6 is actually positive 1 over 6. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Now what we have to do is complete this addition and subtraction right here. So negative 1 will become negative 6 over 6 plus 1 over 6. And when you go ahead and add and subtract the numerator, what you're going to get is negative 5 over 6, which is the correct answer. So the main reason why we write it in this form over here is so we don't get confused and end up with the wrong answer. Example number 4, we want to go ahead and subtract 1 3/4 by 2 1/2. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you a different method to solve these kind of problems. And in this method, what we're going to do first is change the mixed numbers into improper fractions. So the way we do that is by taking the whole number in the front and multiplying it to the denominator, so 1 times 4, and then you add whatever that number is to the top number here. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So we'll have 7 over 4. And that's going to be subtracted by, and you do the same thing. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So we'll have 5 over 2. And if you need more help converting mixed numbers into improper fractions, you can go ahead and click on this link. I made a video on it. So from here, what we want to do is we want to get both of the fractions to have the same denominator. So we want to find the LCD. And the LCD of 2 and 4 is going to be equal to 4. So let's go ahead and change the second fraction to have the same denominator. The way 2 will become 4 is by multiplying by 2. So that means we have to do it to the top as well, which would give us 10. So we have 7 over 4 minus 10 over 4. Now let's go ahead and subtract. 7 minus 10 is negative 3, and the denominator stays the same. So negative 3/4 is going to be our final answer.